The Three RoOs podcast.
All right, so this is episode 9 of the Three RoOs podcast. Today we are talking about the Mandela Effect, a little bit more Game of Thrones, since it always finds a way back into our podcast, the Middle Ages and what that might have been like. I think we talk about PTSD in regard to some of those battles and just how crazy things must have been back then, overall, mostly in hand-to-hand combat. And I think we also bring it forward to modern day as well.
Let's do it. What's the Mandela effect?
Mandela effect is when you believe something happens, even though it actually hasn't happened, but it's been imprinted in your brain. So a lot of people believe that Shaq is in a movie called Shazam, when really,
It's Kazan, right?
it's Kazam, and it's got that other Sinbad in it,
Wait,
something
what?
like that, or something like that. Yeah, look up the.
Hang on.
It's something like that. But the
I saw that
Mandela,
shit in theaters.
that's the basis of the Mandela effect.
I saw that Shaq movie in theaters when I was a kid for like my, I don't know, like eighth
What movie
birthday
was
or
Shaq
some
in?
shit. Kazan.
Maybe the people think Sinbad, like just Google Mandela effect Shaq and you'll find it.
All right. Sinbad almost made the Mandela effect real.
Here we go. Shaq
with a Shazam.
So Shaq had Kazam. There was never a Sinbad movie called Shazam. There was not. But people thought there was, which is the Mandela effect.
Like,
so let me get you.
What movie was Sinbad in?
He was in Jingle All the Way. He's probably in a lot of shit.
He was in First Kid, wasn't he?
Let's see, Sinbad IMDb. He was, because in the 90s he was like a really big
So a lot of Mandela effects are images, but literally it comes from the fact that people believe. So here's what it is. Nelson Mandela, the theory is named after him. He died in 2013. However, countless people distinctly remember him dying in prison in the 80s. He never died in prison in the 80s, but that's where it all comes from, is that everybody assumes that.
Was there like a public statement that he did die or something in South Africa?
No, it's literally just that's where it comes from, is that people think that he did. Then there is one about the spelling of the Berenstain Bears. There's one about Curious George having a tail.
Oh yeah, I've heard about
Febreze, the spelling of Febreze, the spelling of Oscar Mayer, spelling of Skechers, spelling of Fruit Loops.
How is Skechers spelled? Oh, there's no T in it?
Correct.
The monkey, Curious George, doesn't have a tail?
I didn't read which one's right and which one's not. I literally just have 53 examples.
Like why wouldn't a monkey have a tail? Oh, he doesn't have a tail.
Correct. People thought it was called Sex in the City. It's Sex and the City.
Oh, I thought it was Sex in the City too. No, I thought it was Sex and this. Well, maybe I thought it was Sex. I don't know.
Allegedly, the monocle on Mr. Monopoly Man is a Mandela effect. So you see, it's all things that we just assume are real that are not real.
Wait, the Monopoly guy does or does not have a monocle?
He does not.
Really?
Yeah.
But Mr. Peanut does. Okay, dude, I didn't know that. Wait, so what are some other Mandela effects?
Let's see.
You're kind of flying through some.
Some of them are like quotes. So Darth Vader never actually says, "Luke, I am your father."
Oh yeah, no, I know that one. He just says, "I'm your father."
Yeah, he says, "No, I am your father."
Yes.
Really? Okay.
One of the most famous alleged lines from Casablanca is "Play it again, Sam." That never actually was said.
Wait, no way. That definitely she says it.
The actual line is "Play it once, Sam, for old time's sake."
Oh, she said no. She says, "Play it, Sam. Play it, Sam." I thought she said play it again full time. Okay, let's do that. Did you see that movie, by the way? Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's all right.
I have.
Oh, I love that movie. You should watch it.
People believe that chartreuse is a pink color when really it's a green color.
I know that from fishing.
clue about that.
Life is like a box of chocolates. He never really said it like that.
What do
How
you,
did he say it? How did he say it?
He says,
wait, before you say it, I feel like everyone thinks it says life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
right, but it said life was like a box of chocolates, not life is like a box of chocolates.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Oh, here's a good one. Here's a good
Uh-huh.
one. So in the Black Eyed Peas Boom Boom Pow, Rich, could you give us
Yeah.
a little
Yeah,
example of Boom Boom Pow?
let me just unsheath the kazoo.
Thank you.
Keep the thing sheep, Rich.
It's really good. It's really good. A lot of people believe she says, "I'm so 2008, you're so 2000 and late." What
Yeah.
she's really saying is, "I'm so 3008, you're so 2000 and late."
Oh,
Wow.
really? Interesting.
Oh, here's a good one.
Interesting.
You guys might not have ever seen the movie Risky Business, but I'm sure you know the Tom Cruise costume, right? The button up with no pants on.
He's got underwear on, boxers, right?
Right.
Socks.
No. So if you've ever seen someone dress up as Tom Cruise, they're most likely wearing cool shades.
Yeah. Yeah,
Fans
shades,
often
man.
remember him rocking sunglasses in the iconic dance scene, but he actually does not rock the sunglasses in the dance scene.
How
Just
the fuck?
socks and the button up.
Wait, so I wonder how the Mandela effect even happens.
I think it's just word of mouth in life, but it's a true, like,
But
literally the reason
I could
it's
see it. I could see
right.
it.
But literally it's like, well, you see it so much that you believe it, right? Like,
I guess.
Hannibal Lecter never actually says, "Hello, Clarice."
Dude, get out. Get
Yep.
out. Really. Did
Yep.
you watch Westworld, by the way?
Yes.
I watched the first 2 seasons.
I think I watched them all, but it got confusing at the end.
Anthony Hopkins is such a good actor.
I like who's the guy who played
Alive?
Bernard?
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He's in so much shit after you like realize.
Well, yeah, he is actually. Bernard Westworld. So have you noticed that HBO uses his name is I was gonna say his name is Bernard.
I was thinking the same thing because I searched the same thing.
Jeffrey Wright. I like stop because I'm like, there's no way.
Dude, it's crazy. I had the same thought process.
Yeah, that was easy to remember his name. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, HBO. They use a lot of the same actors. Like I think I might have said this actually in one episode. Like if you look at the guy who is dude. Oh my god, the King Beyond the Wall. What was his name in the show?
Mance Raider?
Mance Raider. He was Caesar in HBO's Rome, which by the way, remember we were talking about underrated shows? Rome is an underrated show, and I don't know if I said it. Boardwalk Empire is
I never
Boardwalk Empire had 2 good seasons and then it kind of crapped out.
No, dude, that whole thing was awesome.
It really
I
crapped
loved
out,
it.
dude.
Really? You think which were the 2 seasons?
I just feel like it fizzled out a lot faster than it could have. But the reason it's all about who's building the show. Like people just, I mean, look at everything Christopher Nolan does, right? Look at everything Martin Scorsese does. Like it's all, plus you also have to look at the time. I enjoy going back and watching movies from a certain time period and you're like, oh, that's right, that actor was hot during that time frame and they were in absolutely everything.
Oh, good news. We're back live on YouTube.
Yeah, let's go.
There we go. Until I talk about
until this episode,
until the vaccine episode airs.
Until that episode airs, and then we're done for good. So that'll be.
I'm trying to think of there's if you look at HBO though, they use a lot of the same actors for a lot of their shows, and maybe that's just because I don't know. I don't know.
It's all the money, right? It's the producers, so the people.
It's the producers, yeah. Maybe they know them. They have the network, and the guy.
But it's also
the guy who played Caesar in Mance Raider was an awesome actor. He was amazing. If you haven't seen Rome, there's only 2 seasons. I would highly recommend it. It's only 2 seasons. I would definitely recommend it. In fact, actually, Lucius Varinus and Titus Pullo were real centurions that fought for Caesar in the Gallic War. And then they kind of used those guys. They built a whole show around these 2 guys. They make Titus Pullo a foot soldier. and then Lucius Vorenus is a centurion. But there's Mark Antony, there's Cleopatra, there's all those Octavian who becomes Augustus. They're all in it. So they did a pretty cool job about that. And watch it, dude. Watch it. If you haven't watched Pacific, watch that. It's a mini series.
We just got to the point back in Game of Thrones where Jon Snow died and then came back alive.
Oh, the show's about to be
dude,
terrible. Show's about to be terrible.
No, we still got the Battle of the Bastards, which is coming up next.
Battle of the Bastards. Did he come back to life?
Right,
Yeah.
Because it hasn't happened
That's how
yet.
he could leave. Yeah, that's how he could leave.
Dude, Stannis was such a fucking douche. I'm so glad.
I didn't really like Stannis. Dude, you know who I liked? Controversial opinion. Bruce Bolton.
No, he's
I don't
terrible.
know. I did hate Ramsay, but his character is designed for you.
Dude,
I mean that whole family is the Boltons are designed for you to hate, just like the Freys are designed for you. Like that's one thing I will give George R.R. Martin credit for is when he wrote the books, he designed certain characters to be hated. These characters were never going to get character arcs and become good human beings. They were designed to be terrible human beings who were hated. Dude, the Boltons, the whole story of
I love Bruce.
I mean, he becomes Reek. I forget what his actual
Theon.
Theon. Like the whole story of Reek in the books is so much more fucked up.
Is it? Yeah. Like what happens more than them cutting off his balls and torturing the shit out of him?
So the big torture in the books is he was chewing on his finger because he was hungry one time, and as punishment, Ramsay slits his finger and pulls the skin back, but leaves his finger there to rot.
Ouch.
Yeah, no. The Boltons.
I still don't think it's worth to get my dick cut off.
The Boltons. I mean, their insignia is the flayed man, right? So what they used to do is flay body parts.
Yeah, that part was that's a fucked up family for that. But I would say Roose Bolton, I liked him because he was like he was a Tywin Lannister. He was another Tywin. He played the game
until he let his son fucking just kill him.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say he didn't do great if he let Ramsay.
Both of them.
I mean, his biggest issue was letting his bastard child back into his life. Like his bastard child was an idiot. He should have.
But Ramsay accomplished a lot for that.
You want to talk about people playing the game? It's Peter Baelish and Varys. Those are the two guys who played the game.
Varys for sure.
Varys is possibly the greatest character in that show. Outside of Tyrion.
Underrated
outside of Tyrion.
Tyrion
Lannister's
agreed.
But for Ramsay, you're right. He was designed to be hated. The show would not be as good though without Ramsay. We needed his character, and remember,
because they killed. But you got to think about it. When did he start becoming prominent? When Joffrey died, right?
Yeah,
you always need that horribleness.
Yeah,
I forgot about him raping Sansa. Like after the marriage.
That was that's true. But remember when he was able to topple Stannis' army? He's like, just give me 20 good men.
They set their shit on fire, and then Stannis was an idiot and decided to go fucking march around Winterfell anyways. After he murdered his daughter.
I actually am just getting to this point in the book.
He was. I mean, he wasn't an idiot. He's easy to hate, and a lot of people will write him off for that because he did some bad shit. But like, he also was very important to that family's success. But Roose did all the right things, I think, except for maybe he gave Ramsay too long of a leash. You know who I love?
But he also he suffers from the same thing that inevitably is the downfall of Littlefinger, where you sacrifice yourself little by little to different families, and eventually it all catches up on you, right? You play the game for as long as you can, but if you don't align yourself at one point or another, you're gonna end up dead.
You know who I loved? I loved him, dude. Guess. I love this guy, and people hated him.
People hated him, and you loved him. I
loved him. I would be on his team.
Tywin Lannister.
Well, yeah, I did love Tywin Lannister, but
that's not him. Was he a man of the Night's Watch?
No.
Fuck.
He was another hated character.
Yeah, I was gonna say
because he was a little obnoxious.
The dude was a Lord Commander who Jon Snow hung after they murdered him. I forget his name.
Janis Slint.
No, that guy was a fucking waste. No, dude. Oh god, he's like, and you, Jon Snow, you'll be fighting up battles forever. What was his name, dude?
Tormund?
Sir Alistair.
Yep. I don't know his last name.
Flynn? No, not Flynn.
Thorne.
Sir Alistair Thorne. Sir Alistair Thorne. He was the old school guy who hated Jon Snow because he hated Jon Snow from the beginning. But then
he went they let the wildlings through.
Dude, you know what though? I respect the fuck out of that guy because
I knew you would. That's why I said I thought you might like him.
Dude, he kept his vows, dude. Like he was serious about his all that.
And he
shit.
never disobeyed an order. Jon Snow said let him through, and he let them through from the top of the wall. He said open the gates.
Yeah. He was a true soldier. Yeah. No, I'll just give a guess, dude. Yeah, I didn't think it'd be this hard.
What?
Everyone hated this guy. He used an axe. No, fuck Joffrey.
Wait, so you didn't like? Wait, it wasn't Sir Alistair Thorne?
No, dude, no. Euron Greyjoy loved him. Loved him.
Oh, he just got into.
He wasn't big.
People hated him.
He was bigger in the books than he was in the show.
He was
awesome. They ruined him in the show.
He was awesome in the show. Remember when he comes out of nowhere? He comes back, he kills his brother, and then what's her face is about to what was Theon's sister's name?
I don't know.
Oh god, dude.
He just got introduced to her in the show.
And
Yara,
she was about to Yara. She was about to be the queen, and he shows up out of nowhere, and he gives this whole speech. He was like, "I wasn't born to be king," and he's like, "I did this," and he's like, "And here I stand." And everyone just goes crazy, and then they get the fuck out of there.
This is another one that this show screwed up. The Greyjoy storyline in the books is so much more in depth. It goes so much the problem is in the show, Euron shows up and you're like, what? Cool. Why do we care about this? In the books, it goes into a lot more because of the funeral that happens, and I can't remember what it's called when the funeral happens for the Greyjoys, but it's a big deal, and that's why Euron comes back.
Oh, okay. He was badass, dude. Remember when he basically
except he bitched himself out, but he bitched himself out to Cersei.
Well, he wanted to marry the queen, the most beautiful woman, and be the king. That was his thing.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
He bitched himself out. He bitched him, and that's why he died. He's a little bitch.
Dude, he was. I think he tried to. What was Khaleesi? He tried to go after her. Remember, he tried to let her. He said he was going to give her his fleet and something else. And he was misogynistic. That's probably why a lot of people hated him. But I think, dude, he was just a badass commander. When they fuck up Yara and Theon in that naval battle, he just comes out of nowhere and just he manhandles the what are those three girls called? The Sand Snakes or something like that, or Sand Vipers, or
the girls from Dorne.
Yeah, he beat, dude. He's it's so one-sided. And then then he parades them through the city and all that. I mean, he was badass. So you can't deny it. He's not a guy you want to fuck with. Then he kills Jaime, and he's dying too because Jaime kills him, and he's like, "I got you." He was.
I don't remember that, but
Jaime. Wait a minute. Yeah, Jaime died.
Jaime was probably my favorite character actually of all.
Jaime died.
Wait a minute. Jaime dies because the castle collapses on him.
But he was dying either way. Because when he met Cersei, she was like, "You're hurt," and he was like, "I'm good." But he got stabbed. He got stabbed in the side by.
I just haven't.
No. It says Google says the bell. He died by the bells after being crushed under the Red Keep with Cersei.
Yeah,
but he gets stabbed. He gets stabbed by Euron, and then he stumbles off.
Yeah,
he got an 8-inch, 9-inch blade in his side. He could
have survived that.
Yeah, bro.
Worst things have
happened.
Modern
medicine back then.
You die from a 4-inch blade today. If you get stabbed by a 4-inch blade, you could bleed out.
I'm sorry. You're right. Everything that happens in Game of Thrones is very medically accurate. Jon Snow definitely wasn't
stabbed by if you get stabbed by a dagger, you're gonna fucking die in the side.
Bro, the Hound survived.
Yeah,
he got hacked the fuck up.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, I love him. I love Jaime. I love because you hate Jaime too. Dude, his character development, that arc is phenomenal. Especially
except it was a dead arc. It died. He ended up with Cersei again. It died. It was a dead arc.
That's his thing. He loved her, and that was his flaw. Is that everything he ever did was for her.
But okay, so here's the question then: is it an arc though? If he goes back to that, or is it a boomerang?
It's a bell curve.
No.
Cersei on either end. He gets good, and then
back to Cersei.
I like Cersei. I like Cersei way more than Khaleesi. I figured Khaleesi was one of the most boring characters and waste of screen time in the show.
Cersei was smarter than Khaleesi, that's for sure.
Well,
I don't know if you can
smarter.
like her.
I think she had dragons. I think that's what it came down to.
He said the other way around.
No, I'm saying Cersei
the
is
other way
smarter.
Around. Oh, Cersei was smart. Cersei was way smarter than just about everybody else except for Tywin and Tyrion.
Tyrion is the smartest character on that show, hands down. Hands down.
Yeah, I guess. But like Tywin was a genius.
Was he though? He died on the shitter. Was he? Was he a genius?
Yeah. Well,
was he?
I think Tyrion was better. I think Tyrion.
Here's the thing, Rich. You're really looking at people's battle records and not looking at how they meet their maker. Like, yes, Tywin was a fantastic man on the battlefield, but he discounted the smartest man playing the game.
Yeah,
and that's why he died.
Well, bro, if you had
a
guy in a dungeon, if you had a guy in a dungeon and you were
why'd you put him in a dungeon?
Shit.
Why'd you put him in a dungeon?
Well, yeah, because there was a political move for that. The reason he did that, right?
What?
Because
they thought he killed
Joffrey.
Yeah.
Well, no, he knew he didn't kill Joffrey, though.
Right. He just wanted to kill him. He just wanted to fucking.
He wanted him out of his life. So if he was smart and he knew how smart Tyrion was, don't you think he would know that Tyrion is connected as well as he is?
And they had conversations before that too, where like you thought he knew how smart Tyrion was.
It's the same as anybody who sits here and goes, "Yeah, Eddard Stark, he was so smart and no, clearly he wasn't because
he wasn't smart. Dude. He wasn't smart. Yeah, he couldn't see like past 10 yards, and then
he let his
Robb Stark wasn't smart either.
No,
he was like a fucking
Robb. Yeah. Well, that was the whole point of Robb. Robb was never supposed to be the king. That was the whole Robb storyline, which is why Catelyn was supposed to be there.
Ghost Catelyn or whatever, right? Catelyn come back to life and fucking murder people.
Lady Stoneheart. Greatest character never used in the show. Greatest character never used in the show was Lady Stoneheart. Literally just went around fucking people up. She couldn't talk.
Who did she kill in the book?
She killed. I can't remember how many people she killed. It's been so long since I've read that one. I know her big one that everybody thought she was going to go after was going to be Brienne, because there's a disconnect between the fact that even though Brienne didn't kill. Who was the gay king?
Stannis' brother.
Renly. Renly. There we go.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be his guardian, and she didn't guardian him. And so Catelyn, trusting that he was the true king, had a vendetta against it. So Lady Stoneheart was after Brienne.
Why would she care so much? Renly was the true king.
And why would she care so much?
She aligned with Renly way back when, remember? Because Renly was an ally to the Stark family.
But wouldn't they have been an adversary when Robb was storming through with all his wars, right?
Robb never wanted to be the king, though.
Robb didn't end up being a king. Robb didn't end up being a king until after Renly died.
He just wanted to be king in the North prior to that, and he
was
revenge for his father.
Winterfell because of what happened to him.
Yeah. King of the North.
Oh, dude, no, they had his sisters. That's why he was going on a march right there.
Correct.
Yeah.
There was belief that Sansa and
the White Wolf scene where they like named Jon Snow the new king was awesome. He is the White Wolf, the king in the North. Yeah, dude, that was.
I haven't gotten there yet. Awesome. Again, it's been so long. I can't wait to get there again. I watched the whole show before, but
best show on TV in my opinion until like the very end. Still, there were some really good scenes in the later seasons, like when Cersei blows up the tower. That was awesome.
Any show that we can have a conversation like this about, and then you're still pissed about how it ended. I just don't fucking get it.
I mean, this is what makes this show what it was.
It was so lackluster.
It went off the air in 2017, 2018 was its last season.
Like 2019.
Yeah. And people are still heatedly talking about it. Like, I mean, this was happening.
You remember shit.
But this was also one of the first shows. And now, granted, give it its time frame, give it, social media being what it was and all. Literally every day of every week, everyone had their theories of what was going to happen. Everyone stood their ground, contested it. You never saw it before, and you still don't really see it. Like, think of a show right now that everybody's watching, because I can't.
Yeah, I mean,
Black Mirror. I don't know.
Yeah, there's been like ones like
I just watched the quarterback series on Netflix. That was pretty good.
Have you watched Black Mirror at all?
I
No.
watched like one episode and it kind of freaked me out. It was like this one girl wanted to move into a neighborhood and it was based on your like likes and.
It gets creepy. Some of them are fucking creepy.
Okay, Thrones. Who are some? Did you like Oberyn Martell?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Great
awesome.
character.
I will be your champion. Yeah, he was great.
You raped her. You murdered her. What did he say?
Yeah. You raped her. You murdered her.
He was such an idiot though. Like you got the man on the ground, put it through his fucking heart, and end it.
Yeah,
that's again though. This is back when the show was true to the book, and that's Oberyn Martell is a very literary character. He's very strong-willed, but he has a flaw, and that flaw is his downfall, right? Vengeance is his flaw, and vengeance becomes his downfall.
It's crazy how like easy of work he made of the mountain too. You know, he was like just flipping and
doing his crazy shit.
Yeah, dude, he was such a good soldier.
I didn't realize how many actor changes they had for the mountain in the show. I don't know if we talked.
Oh yeah.
There's fucking 3.
Yeah, there was the one guy was like that basketball player. He was like super tall, like with like dark hair. When like he played the mountain when they were in that one castle that got burned by the dragon fire.
It was like the first season it was one dude, then a couple seasons it was another dude, and then the end was like the strongman dude. It was weird.
Yeah. Which, by the way, dude, have you seen the mountain lately?
The last guy?
Yeah.
No.
Hapthor or whatever. He doesn't. I don't know if he's like not lifting as much as he used to. But like I saw a picture of him recently, and I'm like, he like seems like a lot more slim than he used to be.
Google Julius.
Hapthor Julius Bjornsson.
Yeah, like Google.
Oh, he does look a little skinnier.
Yeah,
he does look a little skinny.
It says weight 398 pounds, and he looks skinny.
I mean, he's yacked now. Like, look at. Oh, you can't see because of my background. Hang on.
Oh, he was in the Northman.
He's yacked now. Like,
was he in the Northman? No, it wasn't. Was he in the Northman?
The Northman. Yeah.
Did he make?
That's what he looks like now.
Thorn.
That's not what he looked like.
Yeah, he's like a lot more cut. Dude, he's like he was also these Vikings had this like big log or something.
I mean,
that was like
there you go. That's what he used to look like. 0 abs.
Yeah, just a strong man. And the Vikings had this one like log, and it was like you could see how like far you could take steps, and he like took the most steps that were like recorded or something like that. But it's actually there's a whole other thing too. Like back in ancient times, like there weren't like guys weren't as cut or something like that. There was this one article I read that like guys weren't as cut.
Yeah, because they weren't counting calories. They don't fucking know.
Yeah,
they would just eat as much as you can, and they'd fucking just work or whatever. You know?
Yeah, so they were like strong, but they weren't like cut. Like because when you think of the Spartans, you think of like 8-pack, like big chest.
Yeah, because you've seen 300. Because do they actually look like that? I don't know.
It's weird. You know what's when you look at like the sculptures though of like Perseus and all those guys. They're pretty cut. Like they're not like these like big strong men.
Yeah, but I feel like that was idealistic. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I don't feel like that was in real life.
Dude, could you imagine like if you went in a time machine coming across a guy from back then? They would be a fucking animal. They would be a pit bull. First of all, their testosterone levels are probably 80 times higher. Yeah. They're probably so much quicker.
They're just eating meat, right? They're eating the meat only diet.
Meat, like some grains like blood pudding or whatever, like they would make that like pig blood soup, and they probably have the shortest fuse ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like those guys
is life or death.
Everything's life or death. And also it's like, how there's like strength in the weight room, but then there's like practical strength just from like you're working on a farm and doing stuff like that. Like you have like strength in different movements. You know what I'm saying? It's not like compound movements. Like they're just strong from doing all these things. Those guys were probably built like a fucking like they're just like steel wire. Like they were so strong. I'm sure. Just like it's like I don't know. It's like some people are really wiry, really strong. Like their muscles were probably just like so much like harder and tougher than ours.
There's no sedentary part to their lifestyle.
Nothing, dude. You wanted fucking water, you got to go to like a well like 5 miles away and carry like that like dude. It's like when you have the stick over your back or whatever, and you got the 2 buckets of water. You always see like
if you had a well, or if you're going to a river.
If you had a well, but dude, like how much if you fill a 5-gallon bucket up, what does that weigh? Like 20 pounds? 25 pounds maybe of water.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Maybe it's probably about the same as if you pick up a 25-pound plate. It's probably about that. Water's like not that light. When you get a 5, we could probably Google this.
I'm doing it.
You don't know what water weighs?
8.34 pounds for a gallon of water.
So 40, really? So like a 5-gallon bucket full is like 40 pound, over 40 pounds?
Yeah.
So, okay, so 2 of those, over 80 pounds, plus a piece of wood that's strong enough to carry that. And now you got to walk that for, which, okay, if you throw 135 on your back, whatever, it's like you could walk with it for a minute, not too bad. Do that for miles. Uphill at times, like, you know, with like the ground changing, dude, you got it. Your back, your core has to be strong as shit. Your glutes, everything. You're like everything about you. Your ankles will be burning, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're hunting your own food. You're, farming your own food.
It's also all clean food, no additives, no
that's the thing too. It's
preserves, no nothing in it. Like,
yeah, like there's no salt on your food. Like maybe
no sugar.
They have some salt.
Dead.
Yeah.
You say no sugar at all. That definitely is not a thing.
Dude, there was this whole article on how Americans eat 100 pounds of sugar and or either 100 times more sugar. Yeah, 100 pounds of sugar now a year, where we only used to eat like a pound of sugar. And what that's done to our bodies and all that. But
it was probably natural sugar back then too, like strawberries and fucking blueberries.
Yeah, exactly. But if you wanted salt, there wasn't a big Morton salt cylinder. If you wanted, there wasn't like garlic powder. It was like, I mean, they had to have had some sort of seasoning because otherwise, that would be terrible. But yeah, it was cleaner. There was no soy shit. There wasn't guys wanting some fucking latte with oat milk, right? It was like, you know what I mean? Like you had water or milk or wine.
What's wrong with oat milk?
No, no. My point is, it was like you were just a hard motherfucker back then. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah.
Yes,
they would eat us. They would eat us alive.
Yes, but they all only lived till they were 45.
Well,
so
they also have guns.
I'm just gonna throw. Guns are very good, but also
or sleep number mattresses.
I think life expectancy kind of speaks volume, or cut your toe when you die. That was a thing back then
because of germs. Yeah, they didn't understand germs. Well, dude, so no guns, right? Think about battles back then. Could you think about think about this, because all of us, we've known each other for a long time now. Okay, so how long have we known each other? For 12, 13 years?
15 years.
15 years?
Yeah.
Okay, 15 years. You're a boy. You're a Spartan boy, whatever. You're 7 years old. You grow up with these boys. Okay, you make friends. Even it doesn't have to be Spartans, whatever it is. But you know these boys from your village for your whole life. Now you go to war and you see some guy that you're friends with get his fucking wrist chopped off.
Gates of Hell.
Hacked up. The book
Gates of Hell that you recommended.
Great book.
It got so graphic and really put the picture in my head of what it would have been like to have been in a war back then.
Terrible. There's that psychological factor you don't think of, dude. Your friend that you grew up, he's getting hacked. He's fucking screaming.
Right. You catch an axe through part of your chest and you survive. Think of the fucking pain you're in. You can't go to a hospital.
Yeah, dude. If every guy's hacking and you don't want to stick out your arm to stab somebody, you're gonna lose your arm. Guys are screaming. You're getting covered in blood. You're seeing people you're smelling their breath. You're getting covered with their saliva. It would be the most. It would be true hell. And battle today is hell, but back then it's probably
the evolution of warfare. Has been insane, right? It's gotten so much less personal, right? You could snipe dudes from 1,000
drones. There's a guy in Nevada with a drone.
And then you go back to World War II, where you're
what was it? World War I, where they invented guerrilla warfare. Was that what the
one was a lot of trench warfare?
No, a long time before that.
One was a lot of trench warfare.
I mean, they had guerrilla warfare back in the French and Indian War, and they had guerrilla warfare long before that too.
Yeah, when you're outnumbered, that's just a tactic.
That's what you did. Yeah, that goes back to ancient times. But yeah, dude, the psychological factor back then to me, when I stopped and thought about that, when I was reading the Gaelic War or the Civil War, and I'm it's not just you're behind a shield wall and you stab a guy and he just falls to the ground and you just keep moving forward like a buzzsaw. It's guys are fucking screaming and you known him for your life. How many people do you think you knew back then? You're from a small village. You all just
you knew your little regiment, right, or your
Yeah,
unit, and
yeah.
you go and you see your friends get hacked the fuck
Yeah,
up.
and that happened all the way up until like World War II, right? Like you would have like,
I'd say one. I'd say one when like when guns got very popular, right?
I was
well,
gonna say
sorry,
maybe
Civil
once you
War,
were
I
able
maybe
to
even the
range it
Civil War,
out.
but
I meant like knowing your no, I meant knowing your friends because it's like well, dude,
yeah,
even today though. Remember like that one time that our Delta guys were trying to they had some mission and they were like 3 5 they went for like 3 to 5 miles or something where the whole time they were fighting hand to hand and they were just like fucking everybody up and like they didn't lose a single guy. I felt kind
yeah.
of proud of being American when I heard that story on
So,
the news. I was like, that's our guys
so I
are
don't know if it's
badass as
got
shit.
less personal because even those guys are like they train together for years.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
in
yeah,
those
yeah,
special
yeah.
forces
But if
units.
you're dropping a guy like 50 yards away, you're not, you know what I mean? It's not like,
I mean, that's the whole point of like SEAL training and whatnot is for you to get personal with
yeah, yeah, yeah.
your.
It's still obviously a lot to take somebody's life, I'm sure, but like and yeah, you see people
They've
getting
actually
blown
done
up
a
in their
lot of
guts, and
studies. They've done a lot of studies recently on drone pilots and the psychological issues that they go through
I'm sure they do
and
too.
how like
Yeah,
people are like, oh, you don't actually see what you're doing. I'm sure you're fine. And they're like, no, these guys actually have some shit going on. Like it's
So
almost worse because you're pulling trigger on things you never actually get to see.
and you
Like,
don't know if they're the right person or not, so
right.
you're
And
like, am I about to kill an innocent? Yeah, that's got to weigh heavily.
you
one of
also
my
get a number. You don't.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not necessarily easier, but I would say
It's definitely different. I think different is
it's
like
it's it's different and like
it's a
yeah, like
whole.
PTSD is a
yeah.
thing now. Could you imagine what those guys had back then?
Well, that's the thing, yeah, because you're talking about 5,000,
Do you think though?
10,000.
So let me ask you this though. Like back then, that's like it's like all they knew, right? Like humanity wasn't, it wasn't as big of a thing. Like you had your sect of people that was your sect of people and you had to protect them and that was it. Like
Mm.
nowadays we're trained that human like everyone is a human, right? Yes, there are bad people out there, but like
You might be
there
right.
are innocent people out there. And like those people that so did they have PTSD because like they didn't know that.
Back
Like
then
they
it
No,
knew
I
was
think
that
they did.
anyone
They
who
did.
it
wasn't
was you
them.
survive or you don't
Right. Like anyone
all
who
the
wasn't
time.
them was a threat. Like you almost wonder if like, did they go through it as much because they didn't know as much, right?
I think they did because there's like literature about like this and like how they would kind of try and cleanse themselves after battle and how like
From
stuff
what
like how
era?
guys were tired, like Roman and like is like Israel back in the day. I forget, man, what was that one battle? I forget, but like there's plenty of ancient examples of where guys
So the
definitely
question is though, you say cleanse. So was the cleanse though, and I'm thinking of this because of how far back it was the cleanse more of a I have to do this to get to that heaven that we all know back then? Like I killed a human being,
well, I think it was
now I
actually
have to
more like
cleanse, or is it a I cleanse because so like PTSD, like to my knowledge of it is like it's that looming in the back of your head you can't get rid of. Whereas if you're
yeah,
cleansing yourself to go to heaven, you don't necessarily care so much what your thought on it is. You care
yeah,
what
yeah.
the judgment
So
is, you
so
know?
there's a really good video on YouTube about PTSD in the ancient world. Um, you could probably just Google that and you could find it. But there, no, it was like cleansing, like how they would like actually have to. I mean, you have to wash the blood and shit off of you, right? And then out of your hair, out of your beard, like off your skin. And then they would like sit around a fire and kind of like reflect and just like these guys were just they were in shock, right? Because you just been through something. And I think one thing that hit me too when we were talking about maybe it was another thing I was reading, or it might have been like a documentary or something I watched too. But like it was like before those battles, right? You're lined up in maniples or like legions, whatever it is. You're around thousands of guys, and there's the involuntary pissing yourself, shitting yourself, and you would do this for days at a time. Like Caesar would go to try and give battle to the enemy multiple days in a row. Like, okay, well, let's see if they bite today. Let's see if they bite today. We're on favorable ground. Will they engage? So you all march out in the morning and you're standing there and you're pissing and shitting in place. It smells. Guys are nervous. Guys are puking. It stinks. And then you got to go out there and you got to clash with some people. And it's like, I got to wonder, like, did archers have an easier time or, because you're like shooting a bow and maybe you see the guy drop, right? But like, what happens when you like literally hack somebody's, like, dude, sometimes I go into like a Halloween store and you see like those like dismembered looking legs and I'm like, that looks fucking gross. Now imagine like you're hacking somebody, you're seeing your buddy
You
get
did that
hacked.
to someone.
You
Or
did
yeah.
that, and you're seeing it lay there, and he's fucking screaming, and you're just like, whoa, like it's just, yeah, dude, that's got, and they're like right next to you. It's just got to be, oh
True.
man, that's just got to be
I feel like
whole other level.
I feel like a lot of the PTSD stuff nowadays is like you seeing your buddies fucked up and coming back, right? And maybe
Yeah.
there's a hand-to-hand thing where you might have had an altercation with the enemy and you did something, right? But back then, that's all it was, right? Like
Yeah.
the war was you were fucking somebody up, or they
Well, I
were
think
fucking
a
you
lot
up
of it
this
now
close.
too is like I always think back, Christ, I had just been starting high school. I can't remember. I had a friend whose dad was in Iraq, and I will never forget. It's the most terrified I've ever been in like a normal situation. We were driving home in the middle of July and fireworks went off, and all of a sudden we're doing 80 miles an hour in a car. And like you think to yourself, like, I don't know, did he actually see combat and the fireworks like made him think of the combat, or did he just, like
Yeah,
back
my
then
buddy
it
got
was,
freaked out by fireworks.
yeah, but it's like,
Uh,
and again, I'm not discounting one side or another, but like back then, way back when, you were killing other people. That's it. There was no, you were just in an area where there were some gunshots. It was, you were killing other people right in front of you. And then,
do you remember the scene where uh it's where Sansa, not Sansa, who was the other one that became like the assassin?
Arya.
She was like training with that one guy, Serial Ferret or whatever.
Yes.
And Ned is watching her train. I'm pretty sure it was when he was watching her train, and it zooms in on him, and you start to hear the battle in the background going on through his head. Like you hear all the swords clashing and the guy screaming.
Yeah.
And it's like you got to wonder like what set those guys off. Like were they walking and you hear the blacksmith like pounding metal, and all of a sudden like they're going back to that, or somebody cuts themselves, and you know what I mean, and they see like
well, and it's like you say, it's like different triggers for different people. Some people it's those sounds, other people it is seeing the the fake bloody leg on someone's front porch during Halloween. Like it's not meant to be mean in any sense of the word, but
No,
like
it
it's
fucking
just
freaks
something
you
that
out.
sends you back to a scary part.
Yeah,
Dude, the human brain is just so incredibly,
it's incredible.
it's so incredible.
So it's got to be like a
It's so
biological
incredible.
thing, right? And that
It is.
and so like because your adrenaline's going, your whatever glands control your hormones at that time, right?
Your testosterone, by the way, you probably get. First off, if you get through that battle and you were like fucking dudes up in that battle, you probably never get a high like that in your life. Like
Yeah.
I was telling a buddy, do you remember back doing sports? Like I was telling her actually recently, like when you're doing sports, I'll remember we were playing a lacrosse game, and we ended up winning this game, and like we like pulled it out, whatever. And I remember our captain at the time said something, and all the boys at once let out a fucking yell. Right? We were all in a tight circle. He said something. We won. Shout goes up, right? Like the battle shout. And in that moment, you just let go of everything, and it's pure hormones. It's pure testosterone.
That's got to be
never
a war.
feel so fucking complete though. Do you remember that feeling like after a football game or something like that when you're victorious? Have you ever felt more complete in your life than when you're surrounded by other men and you were victorious in something against you can't, seriously though, I know it sounds crazy, but it's the truth, dude. Like when you get a fucking victory and you're with your boys and you all shout, you're the more complete in your life because you are what you're meant to be for like that split second. And I got like after that battle, because your testosterone is just taking over every fiber of your being.
I feel like war is like that feeling like times 100, right?
100, dude.
Yeah.
100. If you just survived a battle, your testosterone is.
I think it's got to be yes and no. Like that's a portion of it, but playing in a football game or a lacrosse game, like your brain isn't registering fear, which is the other super dominant. Like, and that's why I think battle is. But
it's registering shame. Like if
think
we
those are
lose
two
this game,
very different things.
I think mine registered fear at some point.
Fear. You're afraid of letting your guys down, dude.
But
You're
like,
afraid of like.
Or you're going up against a running back that's like 50 pounds heavier than you're like, fuck, I gotta tackle
Dude,
this motherfucker.
I used to get so much anxiety before games.
But what I'm saying is like do you have PTSD after about a lost football game?
Well,
No, because
no.
you might have this level of exuberance, but only this level of fear. Whereas in battle, you've got this level of exuberance, but also this much level of fear.
Right,
So
that's
your
why. So at
brain
the
has
end,
trapped that much all together in it.
that's why.
That's
So
why
at
it's
the
got to
end, when
be
the
the
one drops, the fear drops. You're like, holy
yeah.
Right. And
fuck.
so and the fear, you got to imagine the fear is pushing that other one even more. Like
Yeah.
that's where I think these types of things come from, is because yes, don't get me wrong, winning a big game, having a big moment in the game, yes, that pushes that, that excitement level to the high, but you don't have that negative that's pushing it even higher, and then the negative drops out, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's why I think PTSD kind of is a thing,
That's a good point. The negative
because
dropping out. Yeah.
there isn't that big separation, right? Like, yes, this was a big thing that happened, but you only got to this point because there wasn't this other thing helping you get to
So so
higher
why
in a
do
way.
so why do things like MDMA, psilocybin, and stuff now? Why are they proving to help
Oh, I
PTSD so
think you're
much?
unlocking portions of your brain that we've never unlocked before.
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
you are 100% unlocking channels to your brain that have never been unlocked before, channels that lock up. So I think you're going to end up, so it starts with PTSD. I think you're going to see a lot more. So a big thing that happens in brains is childhood trauma going away. Your brain literally locks it out of your brain, like locks it out of your memory as a defense mechanism. And I think some of these psychedelics are going to open those channels and help open those traumas so you can learn from them.
And I've heard a lot about it's deflating the ego too, and allowing you to kind of understand what's going on there, and
I think
be
I think
open
it's
to.
I think it's literally opening up, so your brain is smarter than you. It's weird to say it that way, but that's what it is, right? Like, no matter what you do, your brain, if your brain wants to do something, if you don't want it to, it's still going to do it. Like, that's your brain, right? And so I think what they're going to find these drugs are doing is relaxing that brain and allowing you to open up the defenses of that brain and really dig into what's it. I don't think we're gonna have like a limitless type situation where you're utilizing more of your brain or anything like
No,
that. But I think we're really unlocking lockdown zones of our brain,
Yeah.
areas of our brain that we haven't been able to dig into. I think your
let's call it in like 10 minutes.
testosterone.
I gotta go to sleep at some point soon.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So basically, I would say testosterone is probably the ultimate, in my opinion. Testosterone is like the ultimate drug for a guy, and that's not trying to come across as like people are going to say that's misogynistic or that's
more
like all
than
this kind of stuff.
dopamine.
Dude, well, there's that, but I think like the point I'm trying to make is sort of a weird comparison, but here's kind of what I think it is, right? I talked about when you're in that circle with your boys and you're all just screaming and you just feel so complete, you just like let yourself go, you feel awesome. I think like there's got to be some sort of science behind that. It's like when you're in a weight room and some guy's lifting heavy and all the guys are going like absolutely ape shit, right? And it's like everyone's screaming. You feel good when you're at jujitsu and like you tap somebody, but you're with your guys and like you're just like you feel good. There's got to be some sort of science behind it, and like the only thing I could sort of compare it to, this is where it's going to seem a little weird, is like she would always tell me, and I was researching this just now too. Like there's a thought, and I have to actually read the science about it, but there is a thought about how if women are often together, so for her, she was saying like in the salon, women were always together, their periods would basically sink.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just, have you heard this before about
I've
how
heard
like
that
if women
part
are often
before.
together?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if so maybe the science behind it, like at a high level that I'm reading, I gotta delve deeper, is like it's like the pheromones or whatever trigger each other, and that's why women's periods will typically sink. There's got to be some science between like when men are together and you're going through just like shit or something and you overcome something and you let out that like yell. There's got to be something there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if like that triggers a testosterone rush or whatever it is, but I will tell you like some of like the highest I've ever felt in my life has been like after a big game where we've won and we're all just screaming together in unison. And I that's what I'm saying, going back to the battle thing. If you go through something so traumatic, you're probably so ecstatic that you're alive and that you just defeated your enemy. I mean, there's probably nothing more traumatic or hard than being a soldier, especially in like an ancient army. Like that's gotta be the worst fucking thing, dude. Because there's a logistics part of it. There's like you're sleeping on the ground, you're doing forced marches like 25, 30 miles. Like you know what I mean? Your water supply, where's our food? Like, what's our corn supply? Like, there's so much more to it psychologically that fucks with you. Then there's the battle, right? Which is probably only a small portion of the war, is the actual fighting. You live through that traumatic ass experience, and then all the guys are like in Gladiator, that first battle, after they win, and he's like, Roma Invicta, and they're all like, yeah, dude, that's got to be the ultimate high ever in
So,
human history.
I hate to debunk your theory, but I just did a quick Google search. There's a lot of literature out there that says women's periods do not sync when they are in close proximity.
Okay, I mean, but it's a no, but it is a. I guess I have to read more about the
So
actual
so
science, but there is a.
I think what happens
It's
is
a
a
thing.
psycho
People say
it's
that.
yes, it's a myth. It's a myth that it's an old wives' tale. So I think in the same sense, I don't think chemically speaking things happen. I'm guessing you have this kind of psychosomatic response, right? This kind of empathy towards each other. So women in the salon all the time are going to start bitching at the same time. So they're all going to start assuming that they're PMSing at the same time, even though they aren't. Men all in battle together are going to be feeling manly because they're doing something manly. So there's just going to be a larger amount of manly feeling,
Killing
right?
other men.
Like I wouldn't say there's an actual you
would
men have lived together for this amount of time, so you have raised testosterone.
No, I don't mean that.
No,
I don't mean
no,
that.
I don't
I mean
think you
like
meant that either.
that moment, like when you're all screaming, like something triggers you. But I will say, what I'm reading now, it's Meg has this was a whole there's just a study. Meg has a regular cycle of 28 days and Joe's is 30 days. Beth's fluctuates between 27 and 30 days, while Amy has a regular 27-day cycle. Although each of them start their period on a different day in January, by
Doesn't
June
matter.
the three of the four women are in sync.
Well, that's just simple
They
math.
then fall back out of sync from
Yeah,
July onwards. So yeah, so maybe that's where the belief
Well,
is, maybe that's where the
Tyler,
belief is
I
coming
think
from.
what
Tyler,
happens in, huh?
I'm gonna let you know a little secret. You just got really crazy. Period math gets real at some points in life, and it gets real complicated real fast.
No, yeah,
So
that's why we haven't had a kid yet, because we haven't tried or cared that much.
no, gets
But
real bad real
but I
fast.
think what Rich is saying, and I think why it happens, is probably just biological responses, elevated hormones, elevated
Yeah,
adrenaline, elevated testosterone, and you're all amped up. And so when you're having all that shit running through your body, you probably just are all excited at the same time. That's why you feel
right.
this.
I don't think it's the highest high you can get, but
Or
we'll
no,
let you
I've,
think
I've
about
never
it.
felt I've never felt high. Like did you? I'm assuming both
Again,
of you played football.
again, dopamine is the highest high you can ever have.
So
So
maybe it's a dopamine release in that moment because
well,
you
so that's
just
the
you're happy from
exuberance, right?
that.
So that's the
Maybe it is.
exuberance. So testosterone is the hormone that you feel the strong manliness about, and
Well,
then the
that's
exuberance you feel when something good happens is that dopamine hit.
well. I can tell you,
It's
I felt personally when we're all screaming like that. Like you do feel
but
like
why are you
manly.
but why are you screaming? Something good
I don't
happened?
even know. It's almost like well, yeah, something good happened, but it was almost involuntary. Like we all just like
Right, but what I'm
let
saying
it go.
is
I
like
mean,
what
you've been through this, so
I have, but it's usually like the whole team's not screaming because the whole team's not cheering because you lost, right? You're
well,
all
yeah.
cheering and screaming because you won. So you won, so you're happy. So that's a dopamine high.
But you feel alpha in that moment to the other team. Like you feel like the unit, like the superior unit of boys. Like you know what I mean? And even in that structure though, like I feel personally, I feel like I miss being on a team. Like and like when people are like when you have like a campaign and you have a structure and you're part of a
So
team,
that's
like it
camaraderie,
feels good
right?
to
So yeah,
yeah,
it's
but it's different when you're
I
like
don't know
a
if it's testosterone is what's causing that.
You get you get the same thing in a military unit now when you're a
Yeah, I'm not
35 year
sure.
old.
I'm
I
not
don't.
sure it's testosterone that's causing that whole exuberant blast. I think the
maybe it's
camaraderie
not.
pushes your excitement level.
But
You know,
you have to, I think, but when you're in a unit like that and you're with other boys, because again, this is going back to like high school, you're all boys, it's not co-ed. Um, there are, how do I put that? There's like, you have to, like I said before, I used to get really bad anxiety before games because I used to be very afraid of fucking up and letting my team down. And then if I fucked up, I was seen as not as good, not as valuable, and therefore I was lower on the totem pole. And this was natural, by the way. Like this is a natural thing, right? And if you look at wolves, if you look at whatever the hell, there's always like there's a hierarchy. And so it was like you had to, when you're in a group of boys like that in a sport, there's so much more going on to it than just like, okay, we're all one team and those 11 boys won, and now we're all like, now we're all great.
So
You
I
want
think
to be
my
one of those
I
11.
mean,
You
I
want to be part
understand.
of the.
I think my counterpoint to that though is you say that it's natural, but my counterpoint to
It
that
is natural.
is the participation trophy uh
Well, here
kind of
that.
stuff that's
Say what
been
you're gonna
going
say.
on.
Say what you're
So
gonna say though. Do you
so
look
what
down
I'm
on that?
saying is no. So what I'm saying is people today don't have that same feeling of I need to be the best or I'm letting people down because they get a participation trophy. So there's no longer that feeling of if I don't do well, I'm letting my team down. So at some point, somewhere it was ingrained that you need to do well or you're letting the team down. That's not a natural thing for you to grow up and be like, if I
But
let
who's the
someone down.
best? Who's the best? The
Yeah,
team that earned that trophy, you take them way more
Right.
seriously.
That's what I'm saying. But what I'm also saying is in a world of participation trophies, people no longer are so angsted about being the best because everybody gets a trophy. So that feeling when you aren't the best is now gone, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
you
still think
saying it's
testosterone plays a part,
natural,
though.
but you saying it's
Yeah,
natural I'm saying your response to it has been kind of drilled into you somewhere, which then drives your emotion. Your
yeah,
emotion might still be
maybe.
because of your testosterone, but the reason you have the emotion is because it's been drilled into you at some point.
because of the
Yeah.
circumstances you were put in.
Right.
But
Right.
when you have like a big play, or when you have like some sort of moment where you did something awesome, right? You feel fucking pumped up,
Yeah, I guess
right?
it would
Yeah,
be
go
difficult
ahead.
to know what it feels like to do the same thing in a participation trophy era
Right.
because we didn't grow up in a
Exactly.
Yeah,
participation
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it
trophy
doesn't
era.
you haven't been built up to feel that before. So I think the reaction is definitely driven by something like testosterone, but it's not a natural thing. Like the reason you have the reaction is because somewhere at some point someone told you
So you think it
if you
was
do
you think
this,
it was like nurture?
yeah, it's nature versus nurture,
I don't know. See,
100%.
I don't know if I see. I just don't know if I personally agree with that, because I do think that, like,
Because
whether we're acknowledging it or not,
So let me ask you this:
so
right?
you're
Like
basing
if
it
you
on your
ever
own
in practice,
circumstances.
if you ever
That's
did you ever screw up in practice,
yeah.
and what happened? Did coach ream you out? Did you get yelled at?
Uh,
That's where you learned
no,
that I'm going to
not
be
all.
the
No,
bad
not
man down 10.
no, not
I
always.
guarantee
No,
I screwed up in practice and got reamed out
I
real
dropped the
good.
ball in center field and got demoted from varsity to JV real quick one time.
I had a coach that wouldn't really. He would never curse. He would yell sometimes, but his that wasn't really his style. I think when I would really mess up, I hung my head low, because I knew that that would affect my, like, if I was going to get into the next game or how much playing time I would get. And I also knew that other boys were looking at me, and
So
I
playtime.
wasn't like one of the top players then if I kept fucking
Playtime.
up.
So playtime is what was dictated by how well you played. So
Well,
there's
no,
still that
not
reward
well,
system. You
but
see
no,
what I'm
but
saying?
Seth, I get what you're saying, but I'm saying my values were that I didn't want
Right. No, I'm not saying
that
they weren't.
naturally. I
No,
didn't
no,
want
no.
other boys to see me as
I'm not saying they weren't.
less, to be taken less seriously,
What
and that
I'm
was more
saying
natural.
is that mindset of not wanting to be seen as that is because you knew that things were dictated based on how you played and based on what you did. Whereas now, if you're shitty, you're going to play the same amount as the star because participation
Well, you
trophy
have to.
life.
Yeah, yeah, I get that
So
part.
there
Yeah, I
is
get
no
that part. Yeah,
worry
yeah,
about being shitty for some people.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas we had that worry because we knew if you were bad, you played less, or you got reamed out at practice, or you got demoted, or things like that.
Yeah, yeah. But
So,
there was so much more
so
to it than just what happened on the field, though, right? Like, so for example, if you were like there was like the high school quarterback, and he was like the guy, you know what I mean? Like, that's the guy that the girls wanted to be with, and there was all these different scenarios, and like it wasn't just on the field, right? And so there's like, you're positioning yourself within this group. There's 40 guys on the team. You want to be one of the top 10 guys. Shit, you want to be the number one guy. You want to be the guy that everybody looks to win the game for everybody else. Like, when shit hits a fan, you're on the 1 yard line. You want to be the guy that they say, give him the ball because he's going to get us into the end zone. That's like the most coveted position. All the boys look up to him, and you have like the most value on the team. And I think personally, there's something natural about that. Boys want to be the fastest, the strongest. They want to be. And again, look, I should say this: boys, when we were growing up, wanted to be the fastest, the strongest. And I know today that that's somehow a controversial statement, right? Because that's like toxic masculinity. Some people will call that toxic masculinity.
So, and again, I'm not disagreeing with you at this point, but you're saying boys would do this and it's testosterone pushing it. How do you explain
Yes.
like, but how do you explain like the Serena Williams of the world?
females all have it.
Testosterone. I don't know what testosterone is. What do you mean though? Like, how do I
I
explain?
mean, you're
What
saying
about
that
it?
boys are the ones who have this natural ability to want to be at the
No,
top.
no, no.
So
I'm not saying
did
just
someone
boys.
have
No,
to?
no, no. No, I'm not saying just boys. I'm just saying like my original point was when you are surrounded with your unit of boys, your peers, and like like you're in that moment, you go through a hard game and you just fucking scream and you feel a pump, dude. That shit comes from your stomach, that yell. Right? Like the toes. Like it comes from deep down in you and you feel like liberated in some way. There's something in that split second. There's something there that I can't
I
put
agree.
a
No, I
word
agree.
to. I
But
can't assign a word to.
where
And I
we're
think that's testosterone though.
where we're disagreeing is I'm saying it's something that's been not necessarily, maybe ingrained's not a great word for it, but I'm saying somewhere along the line, someone taught you that that's how you should feel about it.
Well,
And
okay,
it might not be
here's an
direct.
example then.
It might not be direct, but have you ever watched a game on TV, right? What are they doing to the guy who hits the game-winning home run or the guy who scores the game-winning touchdown,
They're
right?
celebrating.
So these
Yeah,
are
yeah.
things that are, I don't think you naturally wake up in the morning and are like, I'm a guy, so I need to feel fantastic.
No,
and be the top
no,
of
no,
the
no.
line.
But I chase it, right? It's like I got to go to the gym. I got to get stronger. Here's an example of something that's not in sports. Okay, hunting, dude. I guarantee you, September 1st, when dove hunting starts, if I go out there and I bag 15 birds, and I feel like a god. But I can tell you too, like my testosterone levels are way higher when I go hunting and after I go hunting. And how do I know that? Because I'm like so horned up for like a week, dude.
I think that
Every time I go hunting,
I mean
I'm
this in
so horned up when I come
I
back.
mean this in a nice way. I don't think you 100% understand the purpose of testosterone in the human
Dude,
body.
no, I don't think you understand what testosterone does to the human body. If you deny that, it's like there's things that you do that are just so natural to a man that your testosterone levels just get so jacked up.
I think you're mixing up physiological things with physiological emotions.
Okay, honestly,
What do you think drives
I gotta go to
emotions?
bed though.
I do too.
I'm
I'm exhausted.
Hang on, before you do, the hormone testosterone plays a big part in men's health, but perhaps the most meaningful role is to fuel sex drive and performance.
So you kill a bird, you get hard.
I think that's serial killer tendencies more than anything.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I'm talking about getting hard killing people. No, like hunting and shit like that.
No,
birds.
I mean, I believe that one of the
birds.
things is when you kill animals, you feel sexually aroused. I think that's a serial killer.
Because that is a job that men did for literally time immemorial until the last 200 years. When I go hunting and I come home, I am fucking horned up as shit. When I have a good day, hunting and I'm successful, I track something and whatever, I'm horned up as shit.
Seth, so if we are invited to Rich's bachelor party, let's not go hunting because he might try to like.
Yeah, it sounds like it sounds like it's.
I gotta play this off. All right, we're gonna go on a hunting trip. But if you guys take longer than 5 minutes in the bathroom, I know what's going on.
Hey.
All right,
It was a good day.
Good night.
Later, guys.